welcome to Wise Talk. It's time to pull up a chair and join the conversation. Here's your host, Audra D. Carson.
Welcome to Wise Talk, where we discuss everything for, about, and because of women. What sustains us, what aggravates us, and most importantly, our purpose and how we heal the nation and ourselves. A little bit about Wise Partnership. We are a women's innovative social enterprise partnership, and we're made up of a group of for-profit and nonprofit organizations led by Black women. This month's podcast allows us to connect to you and keep the community informed. Again, I'm Audra D. Carson, and my guest today is Miss Brittni Kellom. I am going to share with you Miss Kellom's extensive bio. Brittni Kellom is the executive director of Just Speak and gifted in transforming people and spaces for the better. Along with being a trauma recovery and resilience specialist, she is a yogi, a doula, and has been consulting and training groups since 2008. Passionate and innovative, her expertise lies in her personal story of childhood trauma that drives her work in personal coaching and building trauma-informed environments, especially in youth-centered spaces. Brittni is effortlessly able to connect trauma-informed practices with many different fields using practical application because she's mastered sharing the knowledge that being trauma-informed is really about learning how to empathetically hold space for others and yourself. Mm-hmm. Welcome, Brittni. Welcome. Thank you. Welcome. We are here because April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. Mm-hmm. And I am excited to have you here as an expert. And I'm just going to read a little bit from an excerpt here. April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month and is customary from the White House. President Biden signed a proclamation that reads in part, during National Child Abuse Prevention Month, we want every young person in the United States who has faced the fear and pain of abuse or neglect to know they are not alone. We see you and we will always fight to protect you, your safety and your well-being. We affirm our commitment to listening to children, standing with brave survivors, and reaching out across our communities to support families and to help others in need. So, Brittni, as I stated, your experience and your resume is extensive. I want to share some of your certifications.
Oh, sheesh. Okay.
With our wise audience. So, trauma and resilience specialist, mm-hmm. Sexual assault and domestic violence counselor, human trafficking, crisis response, child sexual abuse counselor, yoga teacher, training, 200 hours, Thai yoga massage, sound therapy, and so much more. So Ms. Kellom, let's get into it. Okay. Let's get into it. I want to have a conversation. I consider myself one of your community aunties, so I'm excited for you to be here with Wise Talk.
Well, come on, TT.
Okay. So let's start with this first question, okay?
All right.
So based on your bio and what this month represents, it's obvious why you're here. But let's start from the beginning. You founded Just Speak when you were just 17.
Mhm.
Why?
So for 4 years, I was sexually abused by my biological father. And just to put a name to that type of abuse, it's called incest. And I say that because with all of my extracurricular activities, the
Mm-hmm.
relationships, close relationships that I had with adults,
Mm-hmm.
having a spiritual foundation in the church, and with all of my intellect, going to great schools, loving to learn, just, I mean, not because it's me, but I was a gregarious and I was a great soul, still am. So, but
Indeed.
never heard the word incest.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe I saw references to it in the Bible, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it
Mm-hmm.
seems very like archaic,
Mm-hmm.
and let alone is that something that a term that folks are using when we're talking about children. So for 4 years, I endured horrific abuse,
Mm.
and I didn't tell my mother, who was my closest friend, still is. And I told friends. I was
Mm-hmm.
around, like I said, I went to a private school. I went to Cranbrook. I was
Mm-hmm.
involved in the church. I was in Mosaic, and I kept that a secret. And so at 16, when the abuse was over and when my mother was handling it in terms of taking me to the police, getting me into some therapeutic services,
Mm-hmm.
I started to think about, and I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I was a kid that had a candy store.
Really?
Yes, I had a candy store, pickles, 5 cents, Twizzlers. I had some of everything. Now, was I
Really?
always at that candy store? Maybe not. I may have been biking down the street, took breaks.
Right.
I was a interesting candy store manager. But um, I say all that to say, with having that entrepreneurial spirit and also getting it honestly, my mother is community minded.
Mm-hmm.
My grandparents were too. My, a nurse, always doing something in the community,
Mm-hmm.
and having an uncanny interest in psychology and behavior from a very young age. I was like, man, like, why did this happen to me? Why did it happen, period? And I can't be the only person. And I started to think about, children keep secrets, and they keep all kind of secrets.
Mm-hmm.
And secrets are very special things to young people, especially when we talk about social groups.
Mm-hmm.
So when my mother, among the other things that I mentioned, when she asked me like how I wanted to handle this experience,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to start an organization. And when she asked me, well, what are you going to call it? I said, Just Speak. So at 16, I started the nonprofit Just Speak, and it became a 501c3 at that age.
Wow.
And that was because of my experience and knowing that I was not the only one in
Mm-hmm.
this ecosystem of humans and stories to be heard and to tell that endured something like that. And if that happened to me with all of that privilege, even being a Black child in the inner city, which is traumatic, no matter what your privileges are, I knew that there were going to be other young people that would have that same experience but with less resources. And so I was obsessed with this idea of seeing children no matter what, and not waiting for the if but the when,
Mm-hmm.
and figuring out that we can't stop perpetrators. But I knew that, if I was in all these learning environments, it must be that we have to teach children the appropriate ways to cope with things happening.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, Brittni, just backtracking a little bit as
Yes.
far as statistics, like
Right.
what are the statistics, 2022, 2023 as it relates to child sexual abuse?
Yeah, so they say 1 in 4 girls are sexually abused before the age of 16, and 1 in 6 boys. But
Mm-hmm.
truthfully, we know statistics are heavily underreported. And when we
Mm-hmm.
think about statistics for young people, we know that it has to be adults reporting, because children can't just walk in and
Mm-hmm.
make these reports. So it is actually greater. We're actually looking at about 1 in 3 for girls and 1 in 4 for boys.
Mm-hmm.
And that's if there are reports of the abuse in their first place.
Okay.
And 90% of children will experience some level of trauma before the age of 18.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. So, Brittni, as it relates to when we talk about demographic,
Mm-hmm.
are those statistics pretty straight across the board when you talk about race? Is it about the same as far as?
So, of course, we know because of systems of oppression and racism and discrimination
Mm-hmm.
that, and our country's wicked relationship with people of color, and that's such an umbrella term. So specifically with Black folks, Black
Mm-hmm.
people, that statistic is going to be even greater because first we have to address that Black people are marginalized.
Mm-hmm.
We don't always have the same access resource and even cultural mores and
Mm-hmm.
ideas of what it looks like to engage with law enforcement, social work systems, child welfare systems. So those statistics are higher
Mm-hmm.
for young people of color.
Mm-hmm.
We are highly overrepresented when we talk about statistics of child sexual abuse and human trafficking, Black women and Black girls.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. 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 Okay. Into the second question.
Mm-hmm.
What are 3 major things that contributed to you being here today instead of remaining a victim?
So, God first. In this season of my life, I'm probably talking about, I always believed in God, but I probably am talking about God out loud more than I ever have.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also believe that God sends people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And gives you a little innate wisdom, like some natural resilience. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, things can happen to either improve that or shatter that
Mm-hmm.
in some ways. But I think primarily, as I mentioned, the fact that I was running track, I was in dance, I was doing things from an early age that involved my body. So I
Mm-hmm.
experienced winning. I experienced this idea of mind-body connection,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what, specifically against the time period where I was experiencing abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So it was this dichotomy. Like
Mm-hmm.
here I was, at the hands of my father, having a horrible experience. But
Mm-hmm.
then I would go to school and I would be learning languages, and I was in art and photography, and I was digging my hands literally into things where I could have this instant gratification of
Mm-hmm.
excelling and achievement.
Mm-hmm.
And more than that, I knew that my body was more than the abuse that I was experiencing. So when I think about why I'm here today, it's definitely the prayers of my grandmother and community aunties
Mm-hmm.
before we even know that things are going to happen to young people. But it was that foundation of coping and resilience. And I kind of don't like the word resilience. I like anti-fragility better.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather a package being sent to my house say anti-fragile than resilience, because that means you could take a little beating.
Right.
I don't like that. So my sensory experiences, and then I think as I grew older in my 20s, I remember really having this awakening where I figured out, man, you really have to work for happiness. Like you'll have happy times and you'll have those deep belly laughs and you'll fall in love and all these other great things, and friends will, make you happy. But like by yourself, it's just you. And so you have to work constantly to find the root in the center of what brings you joy.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with money.
Right.
And I think those things together are a big part of why I am the way I am, and physically why I'm able to show up spaces in a way that people don't expect survivors to normally show up. And we're always surviving something too. So
So Brittni, when you talk about joy, what are there some things that you do to insulate yourself, because you are in spaces with young people that have experienced harm as well, and to not, of course you engage and you give them, and I've watched you do what you do, and in your gift and in your purpose, but what is that insulates you so that you can experience joy and not just be overcome with sorrow?
Yeah, so I do things all day to satisfy my miserable spot. And when I say miserable spot, I don't mean like literally a part of me that is sad, although that does happen, but that inner child, the one that was like, gimme, 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 because that's how kids are. So I play music all throughout the day because I love music.
And you have great taste in music.
Thank you. I play music at my work space because I also have a 9-to-5. I work for the Michigan Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence, and that's it's counseling plus legal advocacy. So I take time to get a manicure and a pedicure, and I go by myself. I take time to go outside for walks, no matter what the weather is, whether it's rain, cold outside. I journal. I say my prayers. I talk to God. I ask God what He wants me to do to serve Him, which is a different thing than asking. Not that we can't ask people and God things. However, when we think about, we flip it and think about what we could give to the world, give to the day, it makes us search for the joy. It makes us search for the service. And that does take a certain level of awareness, but it brings us outside of ourselves. So that insulation comes from me working at it and being willing to try things and say, okay, that didn't work today. Maybe I need something else. And then I also will say that it's a calling.
Indeed.
Like I knew early on that I wanted to be a doctor. That's what I thought. I was going to be a neurosurgeon. I wrote Alexis Kennedy. You cannot tell me that I was not going to operate on somebody's brain, child. And then I got heavily into psychology. But I'll say all that, like, it's not a normal thing.
Right.
And I say that because everybody has that moment where they kind of figure out that is what they're gifted to do. But it's a calling because there's nothing that I would rather do. And I have this ability to listen and pour into others and give, but also know that that person is giving something to me. And so in that way, I'm a little detached because I know that I'm only a part of a person's journey, only a part of the arc of change. So if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do and I'm responsive to where that person is, then I don't get bogged down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. So follow up. How has your thoughts and knowledge about childhood trauma evolved? How has that changed? Just Speak.
Yeah. So I'll say that when Just Speak first started, especially since I was 16, right?
Yeah.
Like I was talking in pulpits and doing lock-ins and sharing a lot of my personal story, which is fine. I still talk about my personal story, but I wanted it to be more than doing, take back the nights and rallies, because so often that's where we see survivors. And I am one of many survivors I know that want to be appreciated for thought leadership and excellence and showing up in a way that is not just being a part of crisis, but being a part of change. So the evolution of Just Speak took place and was shaped along with the evolution of me as I began to understand and really hone into the movement piece, what happens when trauma is trapped in the body and how to release it. Then curriculum started to develop, right? Like how really am I going to teach young people and also adults? We work alongside of adults. We provide training for educators. We talk to parents because there's no such thing as just talking to kids without talking to the adult bodies. And it's also placing that shared responsibility where it belongs. I started to develop coping skills. How am I going to break down different emotions and talk to young people about that? Why is it that we're just reactive when something happens and all of a sudden you have to either go to a residential facility or you have to go get evaluated by somebody or you go to therapy, and all those things are necessary and okay at given points. But then why can't we share some of those modalities and techniques out in the open and make them fun and accessible? Because kids don't develop that higher level critical thinking until 25 anyway. So if you're talking them to death and saying, stop running, I thought I told you to stop running, why do you feel this way? They don't have answers. What they can do is draw. What they can do is sing songs and create rhythms, and they can explore mindful movement. They can learn breathing. They can literally learn and develop their own mental health first aid kit and develop mental health hygiene in a way that is more protective and restorative, as opposed to this is what you do when something happens. And in that way, healing becomes a collective thing. It's not a secret. You get kids that are interacting with each other and sharing these things. And then they're getting the psychoeducation. They're talking about trauma and stress in the body. So that's where the pace started to head, from doing individual speeches and knowing that I had something that was different. I didn't want to just have a mentorship program. It's not just a dance program.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're not just working with kids and doing things that look like yoga. Is so much more.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be different than a lot of childhood development youth programs that are existing. Not to say that any of them are bad, but I
Mm-hmm.
just think that just speak is truly something special.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. And just kind of with dealing with healing myself
Mm-hmm.
from grief,
Mm-hmm.
and being someone who was teased about being a crybaby.
Mm-hmm.
I taught myself not to cry,
Oh
and
man.
just recently allowed myself to let tears flow, through the guidance of my Reverend, my sister, my mother, Reverend Shahira. She
Yeah.
shared her journey with holding back tears and what it did to
Mm-hmm.
her body,
Mm-hmm.
and that really impacted me, because she shared her story and it
Yeah.
put her in the hospital, right?
Yes.
And so watching you do what you do,
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, I'm proud of your work and how you do your work, and it
Mm-hmm.
truly is your calling.
Yeah.
And so allowing young people, right, to have their own toolkit, right, to go to when
Yeah.
it becomes too much.
Mm-hmm.
That it's magical, right? It's a gift and a whisper from God,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to allow young people and teach them how to do that. So more power to you.
Oh, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. No,
Yeah.
you can't. Life is too short and too long at the same time. Kids
Mhm.
are kids for that amount of time.
Mhm.
And then you have such a large amount of time where they're adults
Mhm.
and are supposed to have it figured out, which is a lie.
Right.
So no, they got to be able to play and
Mhm.
develop the skills to constantly like hammer away at life and feel that they can change their circumstances, especially for little black bodies,
Mhm.
because we're so external.
Mhm.
Our communities tend to think that things happen to us and
Right.
we are not able to change them. So
Mhm.
why not? Our program starts at 3 at telling you little preschoolers that you have the ability to be whatever you want to. And if something doesn't work out, you can rewrite that.
Mhm.
You write your own narrative. Nobody else writes that for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Okay, so we're moving along. So question number 4, Brittni.
Okay.
You work with adult survivors
Yes.
of trauma as well as young children in your
Mhm.
job as a trauma specialist. Inevitably, you experience the adverse effects of childhood trauma that your MOVE program works to address. Please describe what happens when childhood trauma is unaddressed. And we've kind
Mm,
of touched on that a little bit, but yeah,
yeah.
just
Ooh, it is like a sore in your soul that might
mm,
start off as like a little paper cut, and then as life happens, because it will,
mm-hmm,
that thing gets bigger and bigger and bigger and metastasized.
mm-hmm,
Sometimes, especially when you mention people being hospitalized, like sickness will set in
mm-hmm,
and it almost becomes bigger than the person.
mm,
Um, and that's to me the transition of when childhood trauma just kind of sits there
mm-hmm,
in a person, and it gets pushed down and it gets neglected
mm-hmm,
and is not addressed totally.
mm-hmm,
So you'll see folks that have problem expressing emotion. You'll see tarnished or strained relationships, whether that's a friendship or something romantic.
mm-hmm,
You'll see people that are higher achievers, right? And able to do everything, but then don't feel satisfied or feel joy at the end of the day because they don't feel connected. And if you ask them, they don't really know why. I don't really know why I don't feel this sense of higher being or higher connection to the world. And then there are people that present that are almost ambivalent and aren't aware, they're numb to the fact that there's something that needs to be massaged and loved on. So it can be crippling. And I think we do such a disservice to ourselves. And I know for cultural reasons, money, the way things are in society now, people don't look at mental health as a viable resource. I don't need to talk to anybody. What is that going to do? And I always tell people, you deserve to talk to somebody else about your problems or challenges. And it's really about this exercise of your brain hearing you work through something out loud. And then it brings that situation to your mind, body, attention, that there's something that needs to be worked on. Because the brain wants to do it anyway. That's literally the body's alarm system. Something happens, the alarm goes off, and it'll keep going off until you address it because it's trying to fix it. So I think that we all deserve to have some sort of exercise, some sort of person where we can talk about things in a safe space outside of the confines and stigmas that have a lot to do with trauma and mental health.
So to the point, Brittni, of in our community, in the Black community, mental health and talking about mental health and, the stigma around that. In your work and with you working with specifically with the young ladies, what is it like with dealing with the extended family, right? The parent, the grandparent, the father, or whatever. What have you gotten pushback? My daughter doesn't need that. Why are you here? Or has it worked out where, because of how the young ladies come to you and just speak, is it a different kind of dynamic between that family and you?
I don't get pushback really. So some of the behaviors are reminiscent of whatever the intergenerational trauma is, and that is the resistance that I experience. But because I have designed Just Speak in the way that it is, kind of this open door, it does not say that you have to experience trauma to be in the program. It is also a free program. It is also a program that uses movement, so it's palpable. We're not sitting in a circle and all sharing traumatic experiences, because as I've said, children don't have the language to do that yet. Now I build their emotional vocabulary, and their soon come will be a group that is specifically called Heal, children that have experienced sexual trauma. But I think because there is an accessibility in the way that I've designed Just Speak, I don't have parents that are like, what are you doing with my child? Quite the opposite. Some of my babies I've had since the 6th grade, now they're about to graduate, and there's this extreme gratitude, though some of the parents, I've seen maybe 1 or 2 times, or some of them I rarely get to see. There's this thank you. I know when so-and-so is with Miss Kellom, they don't have to worry. Miss Kellom, my kids will say it's like a second home. She don't play, but but I'm a mom, I'm an auntie, I'm a coach, I'm a place where they can explore what safety feels like. And I let them play with that. I let them sometimes have an attitude and they don't want to talk to me. They don't want to tell me what's going on, because that's always natural. I don't force them. And what always happens, Miss Kellom, let me tell you what happened.
Right.
Can I try it again? And I think that space of errorless learning is something that we all deserve. It's something that our psyche needs. And, when I think of what you asked me earlier about adults, I can always tell when that's missing, when they have been in a space where they weren't allowed to make a mistake, or whatever that means, because making a mistake is learning, but they weren't allowed to explore.
Right.
So no, I haven't had any grandparents or great grandparents or parents knocking down my door, being upset with the work. I haven't. It's always been fun for us all.
Yeah.
We've had moments for sure, because inevitably, like I said, the young people do have trauma. We uncover that when we're doing the different exercises and activities, when we're doing dance for some of the young people that are actually in the dance intensive, and it requires that rigor. It requires them to do something over again. It requires for them to learn a new skill. All of that bubbles up for the surface. So that's why I don't believe in, first aid. Tell me everything that's going on because it's going to come out. I'm going to see it.
Right.
Yeah.
One point you brought up the overachiever.
Mm-hmm.
And that overachiever having some history of some type of trauma, right?
Yeah.
And so, can you go a little deeper with that? So, overachiever, somebody who just has to do, and be the best.
I mean, I'm an overachiever to some to some level. I want to excel, but I think when we see folks that are obsessed with the perfection piece,
The perfection.
and can't let go of the process, or don't see that it's even a process. They're thinking about the outcome. They want to live in the details. They want to carefully monitor how it's going to turn out, and then how that happens is attached with achievement and success. I think that paints a rocky road for that type of individual, just because life is so much more messier than that, and it does not care what you achieved. And I tell people all the time, it doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't care about that resume. That's why I was like, oh, sheesh, okay, yeah, those are things that I've done, but maybe I won't do those things someday. So I think that flexibility is key, because so oftentimes we attach ourselves to what we're able to do.
Right.
And when we can't do that thing anymore, we're deflated and defeated and depressed. And we don't know what to do. There's a complete loss of self, and then we start rethinking the world. So I would encourage people that find themselves like that to, sit in the field and blow bubbles. Do something that has nothing to do with what you think the plan is.
Right.
Think about what you would do if you couldn't do that thing. But yeah, it makes me think of environments that they were once in that were punitive, that were restrictive, that broke their spirit. And how even still with those characteristics, because it's not the person, I never just label a person. With those behaviors, there's somebody deep down that's still dreaming, that still wanders off and thinks about, what happens if I color outside the lines. And that's the person that needs to be encouraged and championed.
Yeah. And I liken it to, the person putting themselves on just a merry-go-round, right? So you go in circles, right? You go, achieve, and then there may be some failure or mistake, or, and they punish themselves.
Yes.
And I must push harder.
Yes.
I need 5 more degrees.
Absolutely.
Right?
I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but I need them. I need to see the papers on the wall.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
I just had a conversation with a senior in high school about that. And I said, if you calculate all these risks, then what? Like, what are you going to do if none of that stuff happens? Or if you're calculating all the risk up front, what does a first step look like? So yeah, we have to give ourselves permission to feel. And I also want to be empathetic, because it sucks, right? When we think about trauma, when we think about conflict, I always give this kind of horrible example, but I've tested out on my clients, and they kind of they like it. It's like looking out your window, and it's that person who walks the dog and takes a poop and never picks it up.
Ooh.
Like that. Yeah. You're like, aren't you gonna pick that up? And then they do it again,
right,
and again, and then winter comes.
Yeah.
So you already know the state of that poop in the yard.
Yeah.
And then at one point, you either have to decide to be, I'm gonna keep being angry, but manage the circumstance yourself and get dirty. And so I say that to say that it's not people's fault when harm is caused to them. Like, that is literally the definition of trauma. But at some point, you have to get in the driver's seat and make some sort of change yourself. And we know that trauma itself, whatever that specific event experience, or it could be multiple. It could be compounded and complex. Um, the hard part, we know that's horrible, but the hard part is the perpetrator of that harm. And it doesn't have to be as serious as sexual abuse, incest, rape, all that stuff, human trafficking. The hard part is when the person has to do the work themselves, when the perpetrator is gone and that vibration, that residual effect is still there. And that's what starts to build the behaviors when the person then is traumatizing themselves. They're taking on those abuser values and restricting their environment and doing the things that they were taught and they witnessed, to almost make their nervous system more comfortable. But it's just, you're really just throwing it out of whack, to be honest.
Wow. Miss Kellom.
Yes.
Your education. So where you went to high school where?
Cranbrook.
And you graduated from what university?
But before that, I was a Bates kid.
You were a Bates kid?
Yes. Okay. Detroit Public Schools.
Yes.
Raised me.
Yes.
Okay. I still,
DPS.
yes. And I know people are like, no, but it's middle school and high school. I don't care. I went to Burton first. I went to preschool on Wyoming in Puritan. And then after high school, I went to Pitzer College, and then I went to University of Michigan.
Okay.
And then one day in the future, I'll be a PhDer. I'll be Dr. Kellom.
Dr. Kellom.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I feel that all in my soul.
Me too. I feel in my shunda. I hope that is exactly. I know that will happen. But yeah, I didn't I didn't do medical school. And sometimes I even think like, man, is that what? But no, the money and the debt. But also I know that the work that I'm doing with trauma now and that I intend to do can't get answered in medical school. It's something that you have to either have a job that directly facilitates that. You have to have the direct service experience. You could do social work, but then you still have to do other stuff to learn the trauma piece. So I know confidently in faith that I'm on the right road because I've always been in the right spaces at the right time. And at first it looked like delay to me because of that. I'm used to just doing stuff with ease. I'm good at it. But then, then you learn a different speed, a different pace. So, yeah.
Okay. Personally, I know that you're committed to the youth that you work with and move. Please share some of the things you've done with them and why you invest yourself in their lives the way you do.
With the MOVE program, besides piling them all in my car, because Just Speak does not have a van yet. So please, if you're listening to me.
If you are listening.
I want a Just Speak van.
What color is the van?
It's black.
It's black.
Or gunmetal color.
With your logo on the side.
It is, yes. Yeah. Because kids deserve to travel in style.
They do.
So it's almost like a Sprinter or something like that. Not a school bus. Even though we could convert one, but it's a van that provides comfort.
Right.
Yes. And it's on the move. That was so corny. But
so the van, how many passenger? 16 passenger?
Yes. I could deal well with that because kids need transportation.
They need to be able to get to and fro.
Yes.
They need transportation.
And it goes with it being free. And I don't want parents they have to say no to so many things because, either they're at work or there's literally not a way to get their baby somewhere. So I don't want that to be a barrier at all. So yeah, I pile them in my own car.
Wow, that's some piling.
Or we invest
yes.
in, renting something for the day to get them there. Or, now they're getting older, so some of them may be able to drive. God bless the roads and the people driving next to my kids. But so they're able to get to our sessions. But, I have 45 to 60-minute sessions with the kids. And It is a mix of sound healing. It's a mix of dance. It's a mix of drama.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mix of psychoeducation, meaning I'm talking to them about fight, flight, or freeze,
Mm-hmm.
where they feel things in the body. Why do you think you feel things in the body like that? I teach them things like antecedent, behavior, consequence.
Mm-hmm.
The antecedent is something that happens before the behavior. And then what's your thought process and what's the consequence of that? So they have those sessions. We go on outings. Some of them go to their first professional performance. And so they get to experience being in a theater,
Mm-hmm.
seeing professional actors, dancers, whatever that may be. They get the camaraderie of being with others, because that's important for young people, especially in the tablet social media generation. Having that human connection and engagement, research shows, is a therapeutic solution for trauma and stress. So they get to know all those things. They build their emotional vocabulary, because I'm saying, and it's age appropriate. The groups are age appropriate. So that means for younger folks, no, they're not hearing the word incest. They might hear things like healthy play, safe touch. They might be getting the body awareness. So the vocabulary is specific and palpable to the group that I'm talking to.
Right.
And they get all that stuff, and they get to ask me questions. The older children get to ask me questions about my experience. No, they don't hear every detail, but they hear an adult that is facilitating their learning and that is older than them talk about the experience, so that if unfortunately something happens to them or a friend, they have some language, they have a reference point for that. And most importantly, they get to have fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah. You're going to have fun in the middle of it.
You have to.
Yes.
Move is a lot of fun. And the kids say it, and that's what matters, because kids are hard to please nowadays. They're gone are the days where they're having snow fights and playing with boxes and making up things. No, they want instant gratification at this high level. They want luxury fun. So the fact that they come to Move and they say they're having a good time, that matters a lot to me. It's special. Yeah. I'm happy to make them proud in that way.
Yeah, wonderful. And so when we talk about immersive, you guys went to Van Gogh? Did you go to the immersive
They
experience?
went to the DIA Van Gogh. That was especially requested by one of the participants. I thought about the immersive exhibit. She said, no, I want to go to a museum. And it just so happened that Van Gogh was there. I said, well, the DIA is a special place. We are one of few museums in history that has some of the original paintings. So we went and did that, and they had a lot of time, they had a lot of fun. Yeah.
And it was requested.
She requested it.
Okay,
yeah.
So Brittni, you mentioned sound therapy.
Yes.
Okay, so for the listener, the wise listener that's starting to learn, from this conversation, what is sound therapy?
Oh, it's so many things. It's that song that you turn on the car that makes you snap your fingers and just come out of yourself. That has that beat that drives you.
Yeah.
So I always start there. We are all attracted to certain sounds, to certain rhythms, to certain beats. And particularly with my kids, I introduce them, which also has like a visual stimulation, to sound bowls.
Yes.
Because some of them have never seen that. And so music, sound works on frequencies. And they have to be tuned, just like the show that we're on right now. Our voices have a certain cadence. So I introduce them to certain frequencies. And when I say certain, just figuring out what frequencies they enjoy, and listening and paying attention to where they feel that sound, and also what sounds annoy them. What sounds might they lean more into, and figuring out why? Does a high pitched sound or a more elevated sound make you feel chaotic? Does it make you feel triggered in some way? And doing that safely, because some sounds are not enjoyable. But then talking about tolerance. So sound healing is a way to bathe your ears, bathe your nervous system, in a way that can mend it, that can settle it down, that can soothe it, And eventually, if you do that, coupled with some other things, it can't just work just by itself. You can start to really feel some physical differences from that. Yeah.
And just sharing a little anecdote. Someone picked me up for my birthday and one year, and took me to a lovely dinner. Right,
Yes.
it was just absolutely exquisite, and to end the night, took me on a drive, and the music, the sound, healed me of everything, that was going on in my mind, body, and soul. And so, yeah, to that point, music does a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Even the sound of the wind. I was having a conversation with somebody, and we were talking about the difference between biking outside versus inside. And people don't realize, like, you don't have to be like, oh, nature is so great, I love it all the time. But stepping out and hearing and experiencing and listening to the way that the outside sounds.
Yes.
What does it sound like for your feet to go through grass? What does it sound like for the wind to blow through trees? Connecting with that, letting that feeling, because it's all a sensory experience, letting the feeling of the wind brush against your face. Life will try to get you together if you let it. There are some natural things here, but we're just so busy sometimes. So yeah, and I'm guilty of trying to enjoy life too much. I'm a time optimist. I always think I have more time than I have. So yeah.
So next question. We know that trauma can mean anything from abuse to divorce, or even an accident. Sometimes a child's home environment is not a place where healing can occur. How does MOVE support youth who are in traumatic situations? How would you recommend schools work to support children experiencing trauma?
Okay. I feel like in my brain, it's like, this is a multi-part question. And so MOVE knows that children, and the facilitators of MOVE know that children are going to come from imperfect environments. And so while of course we don't want children or adults in the home or parents, whoever, to be abusive towards kids, we still know that there are going to be times where kids are unhappy in their households. So that break, that piece of time twice a week where they're able to step away from the den of whatever, somebody expecting something from them, somebody calling their name, having basically 2 hours a week so that they can reclaim their space and self-regulate and practice coping skills is transformative. Because most of the time, adults say things a couple of times to young people and they expect them to execute, but your emotional development requires practice. So MOVE gives young people a space to practice the things that we expect them to do in a way where it's not punitive. And then it encourages them to build that habit at home. So, it is a mental health gym, an emotional dojo for young people to really bask in. And then, fortunately or unfortunately, because all homes, like I said, aren't perfect and there's a spectrum there, they're able to have some of that on the go, right by their bedside, this idea that they have some skills to handle that situation. And schools are where young people spend most of their time. So I think we do a disservice to children by expecting them to sit in seats for 8 hours a day with only a little bit of resource, barely extracurricular activities, because children might get that, but that's when they have a different level of access and are blessed to have that. But I think that schools are just now figuring out that there needs to be a more holistic healing center approach when it comes to kids, because it's bumping up against the teaching and learning that they want to happen. And so schools have to be community based. They have to address not just the child, but the adults that are coming with said child or student. And I think having a program like MOVE, having that curriculum, having that mindset that it's not if it's when something happens in a child's life, you have to be responsive in a way that is empathetic and person specific and culturally relevant, right? And responsive.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the best way for schools to really become a place of a higher institution in learning, because that's what they should be learning. Emotions are just as important as science and reading and math and all that, because they won't be able to do those things if they're not adjusted emotionally.
Ashe. Ashe. So Brittni, how can someone become a participant and move?
Yes,
Huh?
we still have a week. We extended our orientation, our registration period,
Mm-hmm.
so they can send us an email,
Mm-hmm.
justspeak@justspeak.org. They
Mm-hmm.
can go on Instagram and look up Just Speak Inc., and there's a flyer for the Move program that has a QR code, fancy schmancy, and they can take
Mm-hmm.
a picture and register that way.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, you can send an email. You can call our number 313-355-5035, and you can register your babies. At this time, we are taking 11 to 18-year
Okay.
old children.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and of course, like I said before, they'll be split into groups.
Mm-hmm.
So, the 11-year-olds won't be with the 17-year-old thoughts and words and behaviors because they're different.
Right.
But yeah, we're taking open registration, and they have about
Okay.
a week left.
And
Yeah.
Brittni, can we have that phone number again?
313-355-5035.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
But emailing and that QR code will be the fastest way, because it opens up the application right away.
Okay.
And they can register that way.
Okay. Wonderful.
Mhm.
Wonderful. And so, Brittni Kellom,
Yes.
what do you see as your purpose and your legacy?
Hmm. My purpose is to create healing centered pods all across the world, really
Yay.
teaching people how to hold space for others, starting with young people, but rolling into how adults are able to care for themselves. But again, it's focused on the young people. I
Mm-hmm.
know that I'm a healer, I'm a listener, I'm a thinker, I'm creative, and so that multi-prong approach that I was gifted with
Mm-hmm.
is meant to be seen in a variety of different spaces. Um, and I pray that I leave the type of legacy where people understand the importance of loving on each other and asking a real "how are you" question, and not saying that you have to have the right answer, but knowing that the intention is there to want the best for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope I create the legacy where people feel the importance of being emotionally free.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. A pod. What does that pod look like? If I walk up to a Move or a Just Speak pod, what does it look like?
So I meant pod in the metaphorical sense.
Okay.
However, it would be sensory driven.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a stickler about the
Mm-hmm.
5 senses. So
Mm-hmm.
healing is something that you can even taste it, you
Yeah.
can see it.
Mm-hmm.
It has a presence. You can feel it. You can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be sound filled. It's going to have colors. It's going to be tactile.
Mm-hmm.
It's people that are communicative in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that everybody has to be outgoing, because Lord help me, I know that my emotional battery goes down and I don't feel like talking all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a space where sharing exists. It's a space that feels like honesty and transparency, and it's not utopian.
Yeah.
It's a space that knows that things are going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
and the best efforts are going to be put forth to address that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's about setting that up in different communities.
Mm-hmm.
And
what are some of the colors?
oh yeah, pinks, deep pinks, purples,
Mm-hmm.
oranges, blues, yellows, even greens,
Mm-hmm.
warm colors, bright colors in that way.
And
Yeah.
what does it smell like?
Oh, what does it smell like? Soft scents, maybe a little cedar, maybe a little vanilla,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes eucalyptus and mint. It depends. It
Mm-hmm.
depends. But I think I think it's important for spaces to have some sort of presence when we're talking about bringing in resilience and lowering stress
Mm-hmm.
and reversing the effects of traumatic events. Yeah.
Okay. And so, Brittni, we're close to wrapping it up, and so my last question for you, Brittni, as a member of Wise Partnership,
Yes.
and Just Speak is also one of our community partners.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our mission involves uplifting Black and Brown people.
Mm-hmm.
What keeps you uplifted, and how do you use your beliefs to uplift others?
What keeps me uplifted is doing this work. The folks that I work with are inspirational, even when it seems like it's a heavy story.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that we are all magic makers and we have the ability to make change at any given moment. So I think, not I think, but I know those are the things that I look forward to, like the spontaneity of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the last thing that you said?
So your beliefs to uplift others, and how do you uplift yourself?
Oh,
Yeah.
so what about my beliefs to uplift others?
Mm-hmm.
I just think that people kind of have it. I can see where folks are going or where they might want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think no matter the mud that you might have on you or the stench that somebody else told you that you smelled like,
Mm-hmm.
there's some promise there. There's some evolution that's worth exploring. And I tell myself the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the best part of doing this. I don't practice or offer anything that I haven't offered myself or I haven't tried myself. Not that I'm the prototype of any solution, but I've tried a lot of things, both unhealthy and unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I give myself the same boost. I give myself the same spirit talk, and I lean on my community, my friends, my loved ones, to echo that back and be mirrors to me. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, Brittni Kellom, I want to thank you with my entire heart for being here. You could be anywhere else on a Saturday afternoon, and you said yes.
It was an honor.
Thank you. I appreciate you
It's an honor
being
to be
here. Yeah, thank you. And, Wise audience, we are grounding this. The conversation was around the month of child abuse prevention awareness. And so we grounded that conversation with Miss Brittni Kellom. We are Wise. This is Wise Talk. If you would like to follow us on social media, we are on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Please follow us, subscribe to our YouTube. I would be remiss if I leave here without thanking Mr. Kari Frazier, the owner of Detroit is Different Studio. And a special shout out to our engineer, Mr. Joe Black. We thank you. And until next time, this is Audra saying goodbye and peace and love.
The Wise Talk podcast is a production of Wise Partnership. Thanks for listening.